Are you learning English and sometimes feel stuck, afraid, or ready to give up? You are not alone. In this video, I've combined 3 powerful stories from students learning English.
Have you ever felt like your dreams were too big for your world? Like the world was speaking English and you were stuck behind a glass wall, just watching? I've been there. My name is Maria, and this is my story. I grew up in a small village, the kind where everyone knows each other, where time moves slowly, and where dreams often stay just that, dreams. We didn't have much. My family worked hard just to get by. There were nights we had to choose between electricity and food. Education was a luxury, and English, that was something you only saw in movies. At 17, I could barely say, "Hello, how are you?" Speaking English out loud made my stomach twist with fear. I remember hiding at the back of the class, avoiding eye contact, praying the teacher wouldn't call on me. But deep inside, I wanted more. Not just for me, but for my family too. I wanted to help, to travel, to understand the world beyond the mountains surrounding my village. One day, everything changed. It was an ordinary afternoon. I was helping my mother clean out our attic. Dust in the air, cobwebs in the corners, old pots, broken toys, forgotten papers. And then I saw it. A book. It was an old English textbook, barely holding together. The cover was faded, the pages were torn, but when I opened it, I saw handwritten notes, my older brother's. He had dreams too once. Holding that book felt like holding a piece of someone else's hope. And in that quiet attic, something inside me shifted. I whispered to myself, I will learn this. I don't care how long it takes, I will learn. At first, I didn't know where to begin. There was no money for classes, no internet at home, no one to practice with. So I did what I could. I borrowed DVDs from the library. I watched English movies with subtitles. I paused, rewound, mimicked the actors line by line. In the mornings, I listened to English radio on an old, crackling station. I didn't understand most of it, but I listened anyway, just to get used to the rhythm. I started talking to myself in English. Brushing my teeth, I'd say, I brush my teeth. Making dinner, I cut the vegetables, I boil the water. At first, I sounded like a robot, but every word gave me a little more confidence. And then I did something scary. I joined an online forum for English learners. It was full of people just like me, scared, excited, trying. I remember my first video call. My hands were shaking, my voice cracked. I said, "Hello, my name is Maria. I am from a village?" That was it. But the other learners smiled, nodded, and said, "Good job." And for the first time, I felt like I belonged. Day by day, I kept going. I spent hours in the library reading children's books. I wrote short stories in English, even if they were full of mistakes. I stuck Post-it notes on everything in the house. Door, mirror, fridge. I recorded myself speaking and cringed at the sound, but I kept practicing. My friends thought I was wasting time. They'd laugh and say, "Who will you speak English with? We're not going anywhere." But I didn't let that stop me. One quote kept me going. Every expert was once a beginner. And I knew, one day, I wouldn't be a beginner anymore. After a few months, I could have full conversations online. I made friends in Brazil, Japan, Nigeria. We practiced together. We laughed at our mistakes. We celebrated our progress. One friend told me, "Maria, your English is beautiful. You sound so confident." I cried that night because I didn't believe it, but I wanted to. Then came the moment that changed everything. I applied for a customer service job at an international company. The interview was in English. I was terrified. Before the call, I paced in circles. My heart was racing, my palms were sweaty. But then I remembered that attic, that dusty book, that promise I made to myself. I took a deep breath and I spoke. I got the job. Suddenly, everything changed. I was earning more than anyone in my family ever had. I could buy medicine for my parents. I could help pay for my siblings' education. I even saved enough to travel, something I never thought I'd do. I stood in airports, ordered coffee in other countries, gave presentations in English. I wasn't just speaking the language anymore, I was living it. Looking back, it wasn't just about English. It was about believing that I was worth the effort, that I could rise above where I started. Because learning a language is more than words. It's about freedom, confidence, new worlds, new possibilities. So if you're listening to this and you feel stuck, like English is too hard or you'll never be good enough, I want you to hear me clearly. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to begin. Start small. Talk to yourself. Laugh at your mistakes. Keep going, even when no one believes in you yet. Because you don't have to be great to start, but you do have to start to be great. Here's my challenge to you. Tonight, choose one simple sentence in English and say it out loud. Tomorrow, say 2 more. Write them. Repeat them. Sing them. Play with them. Let English become a part of your day, not your fear. Because one day, without even realizing it, you'll look back and smile. You'll say, "I used to be afraid of English, but now, English is how I show the world who I am."
Have you ever looked in the mirror and thought, why is English still so hard for me? I did too, until I found something simple and a little strange that flipped everything upside down. I remember one day I was sitting at a cafe with my English notebook open, coffee in one hand, pen in the other, head full of confusion. I had just spent 2 hours watching English videos and reading grammar rules, and still, I felt stuck. Every word felt like a puzzle piece from the wrong box. I looked around the cafe. People were laughing, talking, making jokes in English. And I thought to myself, why is this still so hard for me? I wasn't lazy. I wasn't stupid. I was trying. But something just wasn't working. Then, just as I was about to pack up and go home, I heard a sentence from a video playing at the next table. You don't need to study more. You need to play with the language. That sentence hit me like a spark. Play? Not study? I didn't know it yet, but that one strange idea was about to flip everything upside down. I had all the tools, videos, flashcards, apps, grammar books. I studied every day, repeated the same lessons, memorized rules. But when it was time to speak, my brain froze. My words disappeared. It was like I knew English on paper, but I couldn't use it in real life. And that made me feel embarrassed. Like all my effort wasn't enough. Like maybe English just wasn't for me. But deep down, I didn't want to give up. I just needed something different, something real. A few days before that cafe moment, I had tried to speak English with a tourist at the train station. He looked lost, so I wanted to help. I walked up and said, hello, you are lost? Yes? He smiled but looked confused. I panicked. The words in my head didn't come out. Everything I studied disappeared. I pointed and said, "Map, you need help, place?" He thanked me and walked away politely. And I stood there, feeling like a broken robot, embarrassed, frustrated, like English was a door I couldn't open, no matter how hard I pushed. On the outside, it looked like I was bad at English, but inside, I knew that wasn't true. I understood more than I could say. I had the knowledge, I just couldn't use it when it mattered. And that's when it hit me. English wasn't the problem. The way I was learning it was. I was memorizing but not practicing, studying but not connecting. I was trying to build a house without ever using my hands. That sentence in the cafe stuck with me. You don't need to study more, you need to play with the language. I didn't fully understand it, but I decided to try it anyway. That night, I talked to myself while washing dishes. This plate is blue. I am cleaning it. I don't like this sponge. It felt silly, like I was in a cartoon. But it made me laugh. And more importantly, it made me use English. The next day, I made up a ridiculous story using 5 new words I had learned. A tired dragon went shopping for spaghetti, but he forgot his wallet, so he cried. Was it useful? Maybe not. Was it fun? Yes. Did I remember those 5 words? Absolutely. I even started singing along to songs, not just listening. I paused YouTube videos and repeated lines with feeling. Say it like the actor. Feel it. Copy it. It became a game, a strange, messy, wonderful game. And slowly, I stopped being afraid of English because I was finally playing with it.
After a week of playing with English, something amazing happened. I was at the grocery store, walking past 2 teenagers talking. I wasn't trying to listen, but suddenly I understood them. Dude, this cereal is way better than the other one. I smiled. Just 1 sentence, but I got it. No subtitles, no translation. Just understanding. And later that day, I had a small conversation with a woman at the bus stop. She said, "The weather's nice today, right?" My heart jumped, but I didn't freeze. I answered, "Yes, very nice. Not too hot and no rain." She smiled and said, "Exactly." That was it. 2 sentences. But I felt like I had just climbed a mountain. For the first time, English wasn't a wall. It was a bridge. I was walking through the park when I saw a tourist looking confused, holding a map upside down. Normally, I would have looked away. Too scary, too risky. But something felt different. I walked up and asked, "Do you need help finding something?" He smiled with relief. "Yes, I'm trying to find the museum. I think I'm lost." My heart was racing, but I knew what to say. "No problem. It's 2 blocks that way, then left. You'll see a big fountain in front." He thanked me and walked off. And I stood there thinking, I just gave directions in English to a real person. No panic, no awkward pause, just communication. And it felt amazing. One night, I decided to try something totally new. I grabbed my phone, opened the voice recorder, and started pretending I had my own English podcast. I hit record and said, "Hello, everyone, and welcome to the most boring podcast ever. Today, I will talk about socks." I described my socks in great detail. Color, size, softness. I made jokes. I laughed at myself. It was ridiculous, and I loved it. I listened back, and yes, it was awkward, but I understood myself. The next day, I did it again. Different topic, new words. And slowly, those 3-minute fake podcasts became one of my favorite ways to practice. No pressure, no audience, just me, playing with English and getting better every time. A week later, I was in an elevator. Just me and a dog. The owner had stepped out for a second and the doors were closing. I panicked for the dog. So I looked at it and said, "Don't worry, buddy. You're not alone. I speak a little English." I don't know why I said it. Maybe I was nervous. Maybe I was practicing. But the dog just stared at me. And I kept talking. "We'll be fine. Just 2 quiet gentlemen on a short elevator ride." The doors opened. The owner stepped back in. She looked at me. I looked at her. "I was just talking to your dog," I said. She laughed. "He gets that a lot." And in that moment, I realized I had just made small talk with a dog in English. And it didn't feel weird. It felt normal. A few days later, I joined a small community event, a book club that welcomed English learners. I almost didn't go. I almost made an excuse. But I showed up. We were reading a short story. The woman next to me said, "I'm a little nervous. My English isn't perfect." And I smiled and said, "Same here, but let's help each other." During the meeting, I read a paragraph out loud, slowly, carefully, and when I finished, someone said, "You read that beautifully." I was shocked, not because they complimented me, but because I believed it. For the first time, I didn't feel like a language learner. I felt like a reader, a helper, a friend. A voice. English didn't make me feel small anymore. It made me feel connected. Sometimes I still think about that moment in the cafe when I almost gave up. I'm so glad I didn't, because what I found wasn't just a new way to learn English. I found a way to feel proud of myself, a way to grow without pressure. A way to turn fear into fun. And it started with one strange idea. Stop studying, start playing. If you've ever felt stuck, if you've ever felt like English is just too hard, I promise you it's not you. It's the method. So here's what I did, step by step, to turn everything around. You can start today. You don't need money or a teacher or perfect grammar. You just need curiosity and a little courage. Step 1. Talk to yourself out loud. Start small. In the kitchen, on a walk, in the shower. Narrate your life like you're the star of your own English movie. I'm brushing my teeth. I don't like this weather. Where did I put my keys? It sounds silly, and that's the point. You're not practicing to impress anyone. You're practicing to get comfortable. And the more you talk to yourself, the easier it gets to talk to others. Step 2. Create silly mini-stories. Take 3 to 5 new words and make up a ridiculous story. The weirder, the better. Example: a sleepy cat wanted to become a famous chef, but he only cooked fish. No one else liked it. Why does this work? Because your brain remembers fun. When you laugh, you learn. These stories don't need to be logical, just memorable. And now chef, fish, and sleepy are yours forever. Step 3. Copy with feeling. Choose a video, podcast, or song you enjoy. Pause it. Repeat what they say exactly how they say it. Be dramatic. Be emotional. Be loud. I'm not scared of anything. No way! That's amazing! Don't worry about sounding perfect. Worry about feeling it. Because when your mouth practices emotion, your brain learns expression. Step 4. Record your voice. Open your phone's voice recorder. Pretend you're a podcast host. Talk for 1 minute, any topic. Today, I'll talk about sandwiches. Then, listen to yourself. Notice how much you understand. Do this once a day. It's not about being perfect. It's about getting used to your own voice in English. Step 5. Play with people. Even a little. You don't need deep conversations. 1 sentence is enough. Hi, how are you? I like your shirt. Where's the bathroom? You can practice with a friend, a stranger, or, yes, even someone's dog. The more you play with these moments, the more you realize, I can do this. I am doing this. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need perfect grammar. You need 1 small moment of courage. 1 sentence, 1 story, 1 conversation with a stranger or a dog. That's where fluency begins. Not in a book, not in a classroom, but in your voice, in your choices. So here's your challenge. Say 1 sentence out loud in English right now. Anything. I'm learning English. I'm not giving up. Today's my day. You don't need permission. You don't need to feel ready. Just begin. Because English isn't something you wait to speak. It's something you become by speaking.
Let me take you back to the moment I almost gave up on learning English. I was frustrated, tired, embarrassed. Every word felt like a mountain. But then something clicked. and it changed everything. If you're feeling stuck right now, this story is for you. I remember one night I was sitting at my desk. I had books, papers, and notebooks everywhere. My phone was playing a video about English grammar, but I wasn't really listening. I felt tired. My head hurt. I'd studied so much, but I still couldn't speak English. I knew many words, but the words didn't come out. When I tried to speak, I stopped, I forgot, or I said it wrong. One day, I went to a coffee shop. I wanted to practice English. The woman at the counter smiled and said, "Hi, how are you?" I panicked. I wanted to say, "I'm fine, thank you. I'd like a coffee." But I froze. I just stood there and said, yes. Coffee, please." She was kind, but I felt embarrassed. I walked away thinking, why is this so hard for me? Later, I looked in the mirror and tried to talk. My voice sounded strange. I felt nervous. I didn't sound like the people in the videos. I thought to myself, maybe I'm not good at English. Maybe I will never learn. Maybe I should stop. I closed my notebook. I wanted to quit. But then a small voice in my mind said, "Try one more time." That night, I sat on my bed. I looked at my notebook, but I didn't open it. I just sat there thinking. I felt tired. My eyes were heavy. My heart felt heavy too. I had tried so hard and still I could not speak. I thought, maybe I will always be afraid to talk. But then something small, something deep inside me said, "No, you can do this. You're not done yet." I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. I told myself, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to try. So I made a promise. Every day I will speak, even one sentence, even with mistakes. No excuses. The next morning, I didn't open a grammar book. I didn't study new words. I looked in the mirror and said one simple sentence. "Good morning. I am learning English." I said it again and again, 10 times. My voice was quiet at first, but with each word, it grew stronger. I still felt a little silly, but I also felt proud. For the first time, I didn't feel stuck. I felt hope. I felt something new. I felt possible. And that moment was the beginning of everything. I didn't change everything in one day, but I changed one thing. I started speaking every day, not for an hour, just a few minutes. While I was getting dressed, while I was brushing my teeth, while I made breakfast, I said things like, "I am brushing my teeth. I am making coffee. Today is a good day." At first it felt strange. I wasn't sure if I was saying it right. But no one was listening. No one was judging me. It was just me and my voice. Then something amazing happened. After a few days, the words started to come faster. I didn't have to stop and think so much. I didn't have to translate in my head. One morning, I went back to the same coffee shop. The woman at the counter smiled and said, "Hi, how are you?" And this time, I didn't freeze. I smiled back and said, "I'm great, thank you. I'd like a small coffee, please." She nodded and said, "Your English is really good."
I almost laughed. I wanted to say, "You should have seen me last week." But I just said thank you and walked away with my coffee and the biggest smile on my face. That was the first time I felt it. Real progress. A few days later, I was watching a YouTube video, all in English. Normally, I needed subtitles, but this time I understood the whole first sentence, then the second, then the third. I paused the video and smiled. "I understood that," I whispered. It wasn't perfect, but it was real, and it gave me power. One afternoon, my friend messaged me. He was trying to write a message in English, but he was confused. He sent me a screenshot and said, "What does this mean? Is this sentence correct?" I read it, I understood it, and I helped him fix it. I didn't just understand English that day, I used it. I helped someone. And I realized I'm not just learning anymore, I'm growing. After those small wins, I realized something very important. I didn't need more grammar books. I didn't need a perfect accent. I didn't need to know every word in the dictionary. What I really needed was a simple system, a routine that I could do every day without stress, without fear, and without giving up. So here's what I did, and maybe it can work for you too. I started by speaking every day, just a little, not an hour, not even 30 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, maybe 2. I would talk to myself while brushing my teeth. I am brushing my teeth. It's morning. Today will be a good day. Or while cooking, I am cutting vegetables. The water is hot. I like rice. It felt strange at first. I even laughed at myself sometimes, but it helped me. It helped my brain get used to thinking in English. And slowly, speaking became less scary. Then I started repeating sentences out loud. Not just any sentences. I picked them from movies or YouTube videos. But here's the important part. I didn't just say the words. I copied the feeling. One night I heard a movie character say, "Don't give up. You're stronger than you think." I paused the video, rewound it, said it myself. Don't give up. You're stronger than you think. The first time, my voice was soft, quiet, unsure. The second time, a little louder. The third time, stronger. And after 10 times, I felt like I was telling that message to myself. That sentence wasn't just practice. it became motivation. Next, I stopped writing word lists and I started writing little stories.
Let's say I learned 5 new words: happy, park, walk, friend, surprise. I used all 5 in a story like this. I walked in the park with my friend. We laughed. I felt happy. Then, surprise! It started to rain. Now I had a memory, a feeling, a picture in my mind. And the words? I didn't forget them, because they were part of a story I made myself. I also listened differently. I stopped being passive and started listening like a detective. If someone said something like, "What are you up to today?" I didn't ignore it. I stopped and thought, what does that mean? I knew the words, "What you today?" But this sentence felt new, so I looked it up. It meant, "What are you doing today?" Simple, but now I had a real sentence that real people use. And once I learned a phrase like that, I used it. I repeated it. I listened for it again in other videos. And slowly, my English started to sound more natural. Then came the scary part, talking to other people. One day, I saw a message online about an English conversation group. Free practice, open to beginners. My heart was beating fast when I joined. I almost left before it started, but I told myself, just say one sentence, just try. So when it was my turn, I said something simple. I think I said, "Hello, I am learning English. I am happy to be here." That's it. And guess what? They smiled, they understood me, and they were kind. Nobody laughed, nobody corrected me. They just said, "Welcome." And in that moment, I felt brave. I felt strong. I wasn't just a student anymore. I was communicating. The last thing I added was journaling. Every night before bed, I opened a notebook. I wrote in English, even if it was just a few words. At first, it looked like this. Today, I was tired. I ate pasta. I watched TV. But after a few weeks, it started to grow. Today, I was tired, but I studied anyway. I watched an English video and understood the first 2 minutes. That made me feel proud. Writing helped me see my progress, even on bad days. It showed me, look how far you've come. This was my system. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't fast. But it worked. Not because it was easy, but because I did it anyway. After 1 month, something changed. Not everything. I still made mistakes. I still forgot words. I still felt nervous sometimes. But the fear? It started to disappear.
I wasn't afraid to speak anymore. Even if I said something wrong, I didn't freeze. I didn't feel embarrassed. I just kept going. My voice got stronger. My sentences got longer. My confidence got bigger. I remember walking down the street, and for the first time, I was thinking in English, not translating, not guessing, just thinking. I looked at a tree and said in my head, "That's a big tree. The leaves are green. The sky is blue." It was simple, but it felt like magic, because just 1 month before, that would have been impossible. I also started to notice small things. I could understand more the videos I watched. I didn't need subtitles as much. I knew how to respond in conversations, even short ones. One night, I was helping a friend write a message in English, and for the first time he said, "Wow, you're really good at this." I laughed and said, "I used to be so afraid of English, but now, English is not scary anymore. It's part of my life now." The biggest change wasn't my vocabulary. It wasn't my pronunciation. It was something deeper. I started to feel connected to people, to stories, to the world. Before, when someone spoke English to me, I felt small. I would smile, but I didn't know how to answer. Now, I could talk back. I could share my ideas, ask questions, laugh at jokes. I wasn't just listening anymore. I was part of the conversation. One day at the park, a woman asked me, "Is that your dog? He's so cute." And without fear, I said, "Yes, he's very friendly. He loves people." We started talking, just for a few minutes, but it felt so good. I didn't feel like a tourist in my own life anymore. I felt like I belonged, like I had a voice. That's what learning English gave me, a way to connect, a way to feel seen, a way to share who I really am. I didn't start this journey with perfect English. I started with fear. I started with doubt. I started with one simple sentence, and every day I added another. One sentence became a habit. That habit became progress, and that progress became confidence. If I can do it, so can you. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to start. Speak a sentence out loud. Right now. It can be anything, something simple, something true. I am learning English. I will not give up. Today is the day I try. Say it, whisper it, shout it, but say it. Let your voice be heard, even if you're the only one listening, because today you are not just a learner. You are becoming a communicator, a connector, a storyteller. You are becoming who you were always meant to be, in English.
We hope you enjoyed the story. Now let's see how much you could understand. Here are some words or phrases that we think might have given you some trouble. Let's review them. Stuck. Stuck means not moving forward. Heavy. Usually this means weighs a lot,
but we used it a bit differently in our story. Heavy eyes means sleepy. Heavy heart means sad. Excuse. An excuse is a reason that you can't do something. Often they are not good reasons. No excuses. This means you are going to do something no matter what. Progress. This is the opposite of stuck. It means you are moving forward. Passive. This means not taking action. It is the opposite of active. Ignore. This means to not pay attention to something. Journaling. This is when you write for your own reading, usually in a notebook called a journal. Were there any other words or phrases that you didn't understand? If so, put them in the comments. Now, see if you can answer these questions with full sentences. Put your answers in the comments. Who is this story about? What was the problem in the story? How was the problem resolved? Can you relate to anyone in the story? If so, explain. How did you do? Could you answer all the questions? If you enjoyed this lesson, click here for another learning video. If you enjoyed this lesson, click here for another learning video.